Hello and good evening. Good evening, everyone. This is Michelle Powell with Professional Manner. Thanks for joining me this evening. For replay watchers, you may be watching tomorrow morning. Thank you very much for coming back and tuning in to this broadcast. Again, my name is Michelle Powell. If you are new to my broadcasts, what I talk about here is etiquette in your business environment, etiquette for business. And tonight, what I'm going to share with you are 7 habits that can undermine your business relationships. So hopefully you will stay tuned for this full broadcast, and if you are watching live, that you will contribute some comments to the discussion here. For those of you who are new, again, this company that I run is Professional Manner, is the company name. And like I said, we conduct workshops and we do individual coaching as well. But our focus is on nurturing relationships and helping you to build a professional business brand. And what I mean by that is not your necessarily your company brand per se, like those who are in marketing, but the way that you present yourself and thus your business. So we talk a lot about personal presentation, the way that you dress, the way that you speak, your mannerisms, and understanding the various protocols of business that help you to polish your professionalism. So again, this evening, my subject for you is the 7 habits that can undermine or hurt your business relationships. So hopefully you will not find yourself in this list, but if you do, that's a good thing, because then you'll understand that there are some things you need to work on, pay attention to, and make some improvements. You know, a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we're in a special category because we don't have on a day-to-day basis the feedback that you get when you work in a corporate office or another business environment where you have coworkers. A lot of times as entrepreneurs, we work solo or we have a very small team, and so the dynamic is very different as far as the day-to-day business. And so there are things that there are some things that can trip us up. We don't realize the habits that we have because there's no one there to react or respond to them. However, if you are interacting with your clients, and whether it's face-to-face or over the phone or you're doing a video chat, sometimes you don't pick up on those cues. Perhaps in a phone conversation where there's a very long pause and you're not sure why, or if you are able to read their body language through the video or face-to-face, sometimes you may have mixed messages because they're trying to be polite while at the same time they feel offended by something that you said or that you did. So let me talk first in general terms, and then I will break it down to specific things or give you some examples. One of the things that can hurt your business relationships, number one, is to not be flexible. Now, I've seen this play out over the years in a corporate environment, and it's very telling when someone is not flexible. You can see that habit. You can see that on a regular basis because there are multiple opportunities for teamwork. There are multiple opportunities to engage customers where other people can overhear your conversation, or they're part of a group discussion about that customer and what it is that they need. And if you show yourself not to be flexible, meaning that you will not adjust your way of thinking, you will not adjust terms when they are necessary to satisfy the work that needs to be done, then that becomes problematic. However, when you work for yourself, or you are the boss of the company, and perhaps you're an entrepreneur that does have a small team, when you are not flexible, one of the things that can happen is that you lose loyalty from those who work for you and from your customers. You can lose that loyalty because they see that you are so headstrong and firm on the way that you see things should be, or how things should be. It's, my way or the highway. And that's very difficult in business. Sometimes we have to be flexible. And I know that as entrepreneurs, because there's a mindset that, this is my business, I'm running this the way that I need to do it or the way that I want to do it, or you work so long and hard on a project and then someone comes in within 5 minutes of your presentation of your work and they say, well, you didn't think about doing it this way, or how about if we do it this way, or no, I don't want to go in that direction. This is what I want. And that hurts. You kind of take that personally because you've put in all that work, you put in all that time. And so it makes you a bit defensive sometimes, and you want to protect that work, and that makes you unflexible. So you have to be careful of that because it can have long-term effects over the life of the relationship. In fact, it can shorten that time frame of that relationship. If you have people who are working for you and you're not flexible, you may end up with high turnover. Folks will leave the company. The culture will be that, oh, it's, her way or his way or the highway, and if you don't like it, then you better find something else to do. So you don't want to be that way. So that's the first bad habit that can hurt or undermine your business relationships, is not being flexible. Another one, number 2, is not recognizing the effect that you have on others. Now this is where having a bit of intuition comes in, or having business savvy where you understand how people are relational in a business setting or how they should be. And so going along with not being flexible, if people are bothered by that during an interaction, you should be able to pick up on those nonverbal cues. For example, if you're talking about something and a person disagrees, someone with glasses like me may play with their glasses, or they'll look over, kind of a scolding like, no, or in some other way they may touch their face or cross their arms, where they weren't crossed before. So there are some ways that you can pick up on their dissatisfaction. And if you don't recognize some of those nonverbal cues, or even paying attention to the words that they use, sometimes people will say in a very roundabout way, if they're not direct, they may say it in ways to hint to you that they're in disagreement, or that that's not the best choice. And if you don't recognize over long periods of time the impact or the effect that you're having on people, for example, going back to that scenario where you don't work solo, you have a small office and a small team, maybe 3 or 4 or 10 people, and you don't realize that your negativity, for example, or the way that you start the day, you come in and without even saying a good morning or hello, it's the first thing, the first order of business, come to my office, I need to see you. That sort of thing. And it pulls down or drains people's excitement, their ability to be creative and innovative, and it hurts the morale of those that you work with when you're negative that way. Or in some other way you don't realize how you're affecting others. Perhaps it could be one of those bad conversation habits. On a previous broadcast, I shared with you the 25 annoying conversation habits. And of course, there are more than that. But over the years, I have developed a list from getting feedback from other people as I've done my workshops and such, that this annoys them in conversation. And one of those things is to try to out-talk or over-talk someone else. That can be very annoying. And if you don't realize that you have those bad habits, you also don't realize the impact or the effect that you have on others because of those bad habits. So number 1 is not being flexible. Number 2 is not recognizing the impact that you have on others. And what I mean by that, most importantly, is your negative impact. The third one that I would suggest to you that can hurt your relationships is not learning from your mistakes. Now that may seem obvious, but you want to think about that in the course of your business. If you made a mistake once before with a client in the way that you presented something, or perhaps you anticipated a need and you were totally wrong, they went in a totally different direction, but you were attempting to get ahead of it, to work faster, or maybe because of the timeline, whatever it was, you didn't do your due diligence to present what it is that they really wanted. You didn't understand your audience. And if you don't recognize that as being a mistake, first of all, and then learning from that, so that next time, either with that client or with a new one, that you ask more questions first, that you don't just drop them into your template of how you do business, that you learn that person or that company and understand the way that they like to engage, first of all, if they've contracted you to do work, or whatever it is, that you learn your audience first, and that if you've made mistakes before, perhaps sometimes they were costly, they cost you money because you had to go back and correct something, or they cost you money because you lost the client, then you want to take some time to think about, why did this happen? And how can I avoid this again? How can I avoid this happening again? So the third thing that can hinder your business relationships or hurt your relationships is to not learn from your mistakes. Okay, so that's 1, 2, and 3. Number 4, this is something that can be kind of tricky when you as an entrepreneur work, again, mostly on your own. I won't make that assumption for everyone who's watching, because some of you do have a larger team. For me, that changes over time, over the summer, and sometimes during the school year. I have interns, and there are other consultants that work with me per project. So sometimes I do have a team that grows, and other times it's just me. So that's something that I have to pay attention to in my own work habits, so that when I do have a team around me that's working on a particular project, or we're getting ready to present as a group to a company, that my work habits when I'm working alone need to shift. I need to make some adjustments when I have people around me. So that's the flexibility as well, and recognizing that what I do has impact on other people. So that was the second one, understanding or recognizing the effect that you have on others. Learning from your mistakes was number 3. Number 4 is not getting involved in gossip in your business setting. Now, I came out of corporate America. I spent a number of years, in fact, the first half of my career, probably almost 20 years, I spent in a corporate environment. And I can tell you for a fact that office gossip is a regular problem. It's a regular problem. It doesn't matter how polished and professional the company is. It doesn't matter how large or small. If there are 5 people or 500 people in the company, it happens. Now, as an entrepreneur, I would suggest to you that this can be even more harmful to your business. Why? Because you're in charge. You are in control of the way that your business is presented. If you have 500 people working for you, you can't always be on, the second floor in the cubicle section in whatever department and overhear this gossip and say, hey guys, this is not professional. Let's, direct our conversation this way, or however. You don't overhear that. But if you yourself are involved in gossip, that can be very hurtful to your business relationships. Let me give you an example. You may be talking to a customer. Let's say that I'm speaking to Karen over the phone, and we're going over particulars about a workshop that she wants me to come in and do for her team. And she shares with me in confidence some of the issues that are going on in her work environment. Now, she's the HR director, and so these things come to her on a regular basis. And she shares this with me. It would be a breach of contract, in fact, for me to then speak to someone else within her company once I'm on the premises, to speak to another manager or someone about these issues other than in general terms. So if, for example, Karen shares with me that Sally has a particular problem and it's causing the team dynamic to go down or whatever it is, but Sally is the problem, basically, is the way Karen is presenting this to me in confidence. Well, it would behoove me to keep that confidence and speak in general terms to Sally's direct manager and say, these are some of the issues that I'm going to present in this training, in this workshop, or whatever. These are some things that have come to my attention that need to be addressed. But unless that manager comes to me and says, oh yeah, that sounds like Sally, you have to be very careful in the way that you deal with, or the way that you interact with your clients. The other way that you can look at that in avoiding gossip in your business is not to talk about one customer to another. You're on the phone and you're saying, oh, I had this horrible customer and they did this, that, or the other. And is she crazy? She wants me to do this and I just had to tell her. Or I hung up the phone and thought, oh my God, and you're going into this entire story about another customer. And what is that present person thinking over the phone? Oh my goodness, well, does she talk about us like that? Or is he saying this when he's out with another client? So you want to be careful that you do not tarnish your relationship with your customers, with your clients, with those in your business environment by sharing too much. Especially, now, there's a way that you can talk about your issues or your concerns within your business. And in fact, I've been involved in CEO roundtables. And that is where business leaders come together and we share best practices. Well, there are times where we come in and we complain about our staff, or we complain about a customer, or we complain about whatever the issues are. But the thing about it is that we talk about it in terms of the issues, not the people. And that's the difference, because when you talk about the issues, you're looking to solve problems. When you talk about people, that's just gossip. So you want to avoid that in your business relationships. It will tarnish your personal and professional brand. So that's number 4. Number 5 of the 7 habits that can hurt or undermine your business relationships is getting personally involved with the people that you work with. In a corporate environment, it's called office romance. Well, it's the same thing when you work for yourself and perhaps you found someone attractive that you are working with on a project. Until that project is over, or you don't plan to continue a business relationship with that person, then I would suggest that you avoid a romantic relationship at all costs, because at some point it could cost you a lot more, and you don't want that to hurt your business or your reputation. So enough said on that one. That's number 5. Number 6, I talked about earlier with the gossip. If you're speaking to one of your clients or a colleague about the work that you're doing with a client, you want to be careful that you do not betray confidence. This happens quite often. And again, this is something that may seem like common sense to you. However, I have overheard more times than not people who are out in public using their cell phone in a public place, and they're talking about their business. And they're talking about some things that would be considered confidential. But because they think, oh, the busyness of others around me, they're not paying attention. But you never know what's being overheard and who's overhearing it. So you have to be careful that you do not betray confidentiality. That can hurt and undermine your business relationships. And you can do that in many forms. You also have to be careful. Here's another example that I've seen before, not just talking in a public place, either to a colleague or on your phone or what have you. You can be working in a public space. For example, I know a lot of freelancers like to work in coffee shops. And you're working on a presentation, or you're going over contracts, agreements, and such, and your screen on your laptop can be viewed by others. You have to be careful about sensitive material being shared. Not only that, but because you are using public space, public Wi-Fi, you have to be concerned about hackers as well getting and stealing your information. And that could be a breach of contract, because you have your clients' work on your laptop as well as your own. So you have to be careful about that. That's just another example of betraying confidentiality. So you have to be careful about security issues as well. And then number 7 on my list of habits that can undermine or hurt your business relationships. Number 7 would be displaying inappropriate emotions in a work environment. Now, there are times where we get emotional, and that in and of itself is not a bad word or a bad thing. You know, to be emotional, you can be excited. To be emotional, you can be very concerned, and you can express that in a certain way. But what I'm talking about is going above and beyond to the extremes of either, pounding a fist, throwing something, using profanity, pounding, or even crying. Those are the extreme emotions that in a business setting people do not want to see. And in fact, oftentimes they don't know how to handle that if you are over expressing yourself. And it just shows a lack of control. And that makes people nervous. It makes them feel uncomfortable and less confident in you as a professional. So you do not want to display extreme emotions in a business environment. Those are things that, unfortunately, I see that carries over for people who are either new in their careers, who just came out of college or grad school, and they're starting into not perhaps their first job, but their first real job on their path, their career path. And so there are some things that you carry over from your last environment, whether it was your college career or your corporate career moving into entrepreneurship. There are things that, bad habits that you carry over into your present state of work. And these are some things that you may not realize, that thus the definition of habits, things that you do without thinking. And so I just wanted to bring these things to your attention, that you will be mindful and learn to correct these bad habits, because they can cost you business. And that's the overall message that I share about business etiquette, that mistakes in etiquette can cost you business. And so a lot of times when you talk these things through, or you read a great article, or you find some other resource, and it just puts that one piece into your brain, it gives you that one aha moment or that one nugget of information, you can change some things instantly. Other things, of course, like habits, take time to correct. But the start of correcting that is to acknowledge it, to recognize it. So for any of you who didn't get the full scope of what I was saying here, what I was sharing, let me just do a quick recap. 7 habits, and of course there are more, but 7 habits that I have commonly seen, and that's why I put this particular list together. 7 habits that can hurt your business relationships. Number 1 is not being flexible. Number 2 is not recognizing the impact that you have on others. Number 3, not learning from your mistakes. Number 4 is getting involved in gossip. Number 5, getting involved in romance with people that you have a professional relationship with. Number 6 is betraying confidentiality. And remember, you can do that in ways that you may not consider as a direct breach, and that is using your cell phone or sharing your laptop in public space. And then number 7 is displaying extreme emotions, from anger to sadness, crying, depression, that sort of thing, that you bring forward into someone else's environment, and you cause them to have to respond or react to that. So those 7 things can hurt your business relationships. I hope that this has been helpful to you. You are welcome to tune in another time. My etiquette coaching for entrepreneurs is usually Tuesday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then 7 p.m. on Thursday evenings, the entrepreneurs come back and we share with one another best practices, and we network. So come back on Thursday evening, bring some other folks who may be interested in learning a little more about etiquette, in how to place that into your business. And then also, if you're interested in networking with other entrepreneurs, then you can find that here on Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. I also provide throughout the rest of the week what I call midday manners. Midday manners, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Periscope. You can come back and get just a few more nuggets from me to help you get through your work day. So again, that's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday usually at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then the etiquette coaching and networking is Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. If you are interested in having Professional Manner to provide individual coaching for you or to do a workshop or seminar, then please look in my bio here and you will find my web address, which is professionalmanner.com. And of course, I'm on social media platforms. You can find me on Twitter at ProManner. I'm also on Facebook, LinkedIn, and a few others. So thank you again for watching, for tuning in. I hope this has been helpful to you. Again, my name is Michelle Powell. I am your etiquette coach, and I hope that you will return and bring your questions next time so that I can engage you and answer things specifically to help you. Thanks and have a good evening.